Item 17 is the hair that was recovered from Abby's right hand that was entangled around her finger. They concluded that this item number 17 was consistent with Kelsi, and the statistic that they provide, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, kind of what this means, is 1 in 800 trillion. As of March 7th, 2017, they had an unknown female hair. Nobody had asked to compare it to Becky or Kelsi until 7 years after the trial started. Yes, that is the timeline and how that worked. She agreed her focus was on looking for male DNA, and when asked why, she said, well, we had indicators of a male perpetrator. So we have already heard about possible confirmatory testing that they just followed up on like within the last couple weeks. So earlier this month, they compared the standard to Kelsi's DNA. They had discussed at the end of September whether they should do that and whether they had already received a standard. The lab says they had not received a standard at any time. So if one had previously been collected, it apparently was not forwarded onto the lab. It got lost somewhere in transmission.
Well, what do we have here? Revelations from the state of Indiana's case against Rick Allen have thus far exposed the collusion, incompetence, and utter fraud that has taken place regarding the murders of 14-year-old Liberty Rosalind German and 13-year-old Abigail Joyce Williams in February 2017. The implications of such revelations are nothing new to me or my subscribers, but merely confirm our beliefs and suspicions as to what happened to Abby and Libby. For years, we have been screaming into the void, calling BS on not only law enforcement's investigation and Carroll County's bogus prosecution of Allen, but also the whole narrative of this case. This image is not real, nor is it the last photograph of Abigail, just moments before the killer approached. It first appeared on Facebook, not through law enforcement. It is an edited combination of this authentic photograph of Abby playing softball in a hotel parking lot and the bridge guy image itself, which is a template of sorts. You can go to the channel I Have Apophis and watch the series Shadow Man to see this proven as fact. These two pieces of evidence were planted on Libby's phone by the perpetrators. This would have been obvious to the FBI immediately, and that's why the case has been handled with so much secrecy, because of deception. I have long speculated that Kelsi is the one who planted this evidence on Libby's phone because she, by her own admission, had the passwords to Libby's socials. I believe she logged into Libby's Snapchat from her phone and posted these images. She did so, in my opinion, to aid the perpetrators in staging a fake timeline.
He asked a question, which was interesting. He's like, you never extracted the information from Kelsi German's phone, did you? And he says, we did not. And he says, is that a mistake? You know, just to help with timelines and see who was communicating, and you don't think you maybe should have done that? And he says, no, I don't think we should. He said, you did in fact learn with the rest of us in the last few months that phone connected to the tower at 4:33 a.m., correct? And Holman says, yeah, we learned that.
That's right. Kelsi's phone was never searched, seized, and never underwent a Celebrite extraction. Kelsi, known liar, and the last person to have contact with the victims. And before I get a flood of comments from people who cannot fathom that she helped orchestrate these murders, let's get a few things out of the way first. According to the Department of Justice Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Program, youth ages 11 to 17 were more likely to be killed by someone they knew, especially friends and acquaintances. Their deaths were commonly tied to arguments and crime. Youth ages 11 to 17 and infants were most often killed by young people ages 18 to 24. Moreover, in a criminal homicide investigation, common procedure includes meticulous investigation into the lives of the victims and everyone associated with them, family and friends included. Typically, the last person to have contact with the deceased is considered a person of interest until they can be confidently cleared by law enforcement.
To date, how many persons of interest and suspects have police looked at, and what makes a person a suspect as opposed to a person of interest?
Well, everybody's a person of interest in almost anything that we do. And I can't speak specifically to this with the number of people that there are, but again, we look these from the worst case scenario and then backwards. So that number would be a lot, but that would be up to the detectives, not me.
And as we know, Nobody has been cleared as of 2022.
Are we still looking at Mr. Logan as possibly
Looking
involved?
at everything and all of it. We're looking at all of it. We said when this happened we were going to start all over.
So you never,
That's what we're doing.
so you never cleared him, Mr. Logan?
We haven't cleared anybody.
Now, I'm not saying Kelsi did this alone. I have never believed that to be the case. Dozens of Delphi residents were involved in this occult sacrifice, in my opinion. I do, however, believe that Kelsi was instrumental in leading these precious lambs to the slaughter in a dramatic moment of betrayal. I believe she led the girls to their assailants, who attacked, subdued, and abducted them before eventually killing them at the scene by the creek. I also believe, based on physical evidence at the crime scene, that this was in fact a ritualistic killing, a blood offering to the gods or demonic entities that the people of Delphi worship. Abigail and Liberty were ceremoniously killed in front of an audience in the early morning hours of February 14th. The dubious search for the victims on the night of the 13th is a cover for the ritual. Many locals were there, including key figures who were responsible for bungling this investigation and framing Richard Allen after the donations to the family and the town dried up. You see, this was a sacrificial, double murder committed in part by the families of the deceased and the prominent members of their community, who raked in millions of dollars following the tragic events that unfolded on that creek bed. In addition to monetary rewards, fame and sympathy were garnered and exploited by the family of Liberty German, especially her big sister Kelsi, to no end. The family's relentless fundraising and shameless media tour post-murders is one of the reasons why we were never allowed to question them or their many inconsistencies in the timeline of events, despite none of them ever having been cleared by law enforcement and many changes in their versions of events. Point being here, there are many inconsistencies in this girl's story, and I don't have the time to list them all here. I have a playlist dedicated to her as a suspect that you can review if you want a deeper dive into her lies and manipulation. This video is to address the shocking revelation that was learned from the ongoing trial that I sincerely hope wakes people up to the true evil that took place here, and that is the fact that Kelsi's hair was found in Abigail's hand. This is objectively the most incriminating fact pertaining to any suspect examined thus far. As always, I'm sure there will be people simping for this girl they've never met, bending over backwards to make excuses for her lies and bizarre behaviors. And this is one of the main reasons this case remains unsolved and elicits confusion from the public. Let me explain why this fact is so damning that it absolutely cannot be explained away. The same folks dismissing this evidence are inclined to believe the state's bogus narrative that the girls, escaping the elusive BG, crossed the 3-foot deep creek to end up at the crime scene. The state is trying to sell that there was a single perp who was interrupted during an assault and fled the scene, despite no DNA evidence of the defendant left behind at the scene. Moreover, the crime scene was staged and the bodies manipulated. Abigail was redressed in Libby's clothes. If you want to buy that this piece of hair on the body of the victim at the crime scene is inconspicuous because the sweatshirt belonged to Kelsi, or the fact that Abby supposedly slept over at the Patties the night before, I suggest that you are the one who was reaching. The hair was not found on her clothing. It was found in her hand. For years, the public pondered the question of the presence of DNA at the Delphi murders crime scene. Now you have an answer, and it happens to inculpate the last person who admits to seeing the girls alive. Her inconsistencies are evidence alone that she hasn't been transparent since day one, and with the help of complicit law enforcement, she has escaped public scrutiny for far too long. If you are still giving this girl the benefit of the doubt, I hope this forensic fact eliminates that bias. 2 kids were murdered and failed by their loved ones and community in every possible way. What happened to these girls is the personification of evil and now includes another victim, Richard Allen. It's up to us to not allow this negligence to continue. No more excuses from Kelsi German. Thank you.